Hey everybody, it's Dr. Hunt here. Just let me get everything situated. Let me make sure. Okay, so I think everything is set. So just sent out a little reminder. We start at 7 every Monday, unless something comes up, of course. So I'm gonna give it a little time for people to join. One of the things while we're waiting, I wanted to mention was that there's a lot of good information on the No Guesswork group. It's a private group. There's a No Guesswork page where people join and they do their thing. But there's also a No Guesswork group where people do a lot of post a lot of interesting things, and so I encourage you to join both the page and the group. It's a private group, so once you go to the No Guesswork page, you can join the group from there. I was on a page today and was looking at some really interesting things. We're going to talk about some of them today as well. But today, I wanted to kind of finish up a conversation that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So I think we will get started now. Someone said, can you pin it? I wish I could. I wish I even knew how to do that. I'm going to need me an assistant. I'm going to get my little niece to come over and help me with some of this stuff because I'm not that savvy. But I think I'll figure it out. After this live, I'll figure out how to do that because I think that's a good idea to pin it. So thank you for that. So anyway, I'm Dr. Ramik Hunt. I'm an internal medicine physician, board certified internal medicine and in obesity medicine, and I run an obesity medicine clinic at Penn Medicine, Princeton Health. Happy Monday to everybody. I had a great day today. One of my new patients was very, we just had a really good chemistry. She came in for weight management, and I think she's going to do very well. I hope she's watching now. So today, I wanted to talk a little more about, anxiety and depression, because another one of my patients over the last couple of days, or a number of my patients over the last couple of days have been going through a lot of different things. And we're in some trying times. I mean, we can all agree, no matter what, who you are, that we're in some trying times. And we talked about how, some of the things that you can do to some coping strategies for anxiety and depression. But I realized we didn't really talk about how to recognize if you have anxiety and depression, or if someone you're a friend or a family member has anxiety and depression. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and then I wanted to go into some other NGW stuff. And I don't think we talked about ways to cope, but I don't think we talked about medications as well, and I'll bring that up a little bit as well. So, as we all know, like someone said, anxiety is high right now. I would agree with you. And I can tell you that almost every single patient that comes into my office every single day, we start the conversation with how anxious they are and about everything that's going on in the world. And the truth is, I used to be able to give them a lot of good advice on what to do about it. But I will admit that what's going on today, it's really hard to give good advice of how to deal with the stress. Yes, you should vote. Yes, you should go out there and do peaceful protests and all the things that we should do, but it still doesn't negate the fact that you feel anxious. And so I wanted to talk about how we recognize that, because what happens is before you realize that you have anxiety or depression or both, you may self-medicate with something else. And so one of those things is, it's really important to make sure that you recognize it in yourself or a family member. So how do we recognize anxiety? So anxiety is a little more trickier than depression, because anxiety can present so many different ways, and as can depression. But anxiety is one of those things where you feel anxious, right? You feel nervous, or you feel not right. But also some people might manifest it as stress, and you feel stressed. Now, stress is one thing. You might have a stressful day at the job. You might have a stressful event. And that's one thing. But it's a spectrum. Like, you go through stress and then it hits a point to where it becomes anxiety. And so how do you recognize it? Well, one, you feel it, right? You feel like tight, your neck's tight, you feel anxious, you feel nervous, and then some people don't want to go places, they don't want to do things. But when is anxiety a problem? And when should you do something about it? Well, one, if you feel anxious, you should try to recognize how you're feeling or how someone else is feeling. And what I like to tell patients is, when I do a physical exam, one of the last questions I ask patients is, do you feel nervous or anxious? And do you get panic attacks? And so when I ask them if they feel nervous or anxious, if they tell me yes, the next question I ask them is, do you think that nervousness or anxiety is affecting the quality of your life? Because I think that is important. If you have your own coping strategies, then, we all feel anxious at times. We all feel nervous. We all feel stressed at times. But if you have your own coping strategies and you're able to get rid of those feelings, then maybe, you're good. But if it's to a point where you're feeling that it's affecting the quality of your life, like it's affecting your relationships with your spouse or your significant other or your friends or your job or whatever, then that's the time when you got to say to yourself, well, I really need to do something about it. And sometimes you need professional help. And you might say, well, there's nothing that they can do about what I'm anxious about or what I'm stressed about. But that's actually not true, because there are things that they can do and teach you on how to deal with coping strategies. And we talked a little bit about, meditation and exercise and a whole bunch of different things that you can do. And there are other things that, like a therapist could work with you on in order to help you kind of deal with your anxiety. And so I urge you to, ask yourself that very same question. Does it affect the quality of your life? And if it does, then you should probably go and talk to somebody. Maybe first go talk to your primary care doctor, and then, and have them take it from there. Like someone said, sometimes it can affect you by you not sleeping, and then you not sleeping means you're not performing well at your job, and just a lot of different things, as well as depression. I always ask patients the same thing about depression. Like, how would you describe your mood? happy, sad, or somewhere in the middle. Now, I can tell you about 95% of my patients right about now say things like, either they're depressed or they're somewhere in the middle. And then if they say somewhere in the middle, my next question to them is, are you more in the middle on the happier side or more in the middle on the sadder side? And many of them will say, the sadder side. And then I ask them that very same question that I ask about anxiety. Well, do you think it's affecting the quality of your life? And, and that is the question that, we need to, you need to ask yourself. And what I normally ask as well is something that we learned in medical school, something called the acronym SIGE-CAPS. So SIGECAPS. And then each of those things stand for something. So we'll write them down. And so, you teach your medical students, your residents, all these, you teach them SIGE-CAPS. And you learn it in medical school. So S stands for sleep. So how is your sleep? It's just, more, less, unchanged. Because if you're sleeping more, that could be a sign of depression. If you're sleeping less, that could be a sign of depression or anxiety. How about your interest? That's what the I stands for. Are the things that you're interested in doing? Before, you used to go to the movies. I mean, obviously, a lot of us can't go to the movies depending on where you live. But, you read a book and you listen to music and you dance and you hang out with friends, you hang out with family. Are you, my interests aren't that great. I'm not really doing much. I'm just sitting in the house, and then the G stands for guilt. Do you feel guilty about anything? Because a lot of times when people are depressed, there's a lot of guilt associated with it for whatever reason. And then the E stands for energy. Do you feel that you have energy? Because some people, when they're depressed, they feel really fatigued. And that might be their only sign or symptom. They might just feel down. Their mood might be down. And then the other symptom might just be their energy is low. And then the C stands for concentration. And so a lot of times it's hard for people to concentrate when they're anxious or depressed. They just can't get it together. And then A stands for appetite. There are many people I know, and this is where NGW comes in, and we deal with a lot of, and this is one of the reasons why anxiety and depression has a lot to do with what I do, because, people who are going through some emotional things, oftentimes they'll eat more. But then there are people who, who are depressed, who won't eat at all, who lose their appetite. And so it's important to know if somebody's appetite is up or down, or if it's unchanged. And then P is it stands for psychomotor retardation, meaning a better way to say, like, do you walk with a pep in your step, or do you kind of mope? And again, that's another sign that people are, just not feeling well. And then S, you always want to make sure people don't want to hurt themselves or hurt someone else. And so that's why you have to always ask those questions. So it's called SIGE-CAPS, SIGECAPS. And again, you can ask yourself these questions, or go talk to a doctor if we're starting with the fact that your mood is down, or you're feeling particularly anxious. Go talk to your doctor, and then, seek help. Like, let your primary care physician direct you in the right direction to go talk to somebody. There are so many resources out there. One that, sometimes we have a really good therapist in our office, but if you live in a different area, there's psychologytoday.com. That's always a good resource. And there are other, and I'm sure your physician has a resource, because it's so important. And then there's also medications. I don't think I talked much about medications last time. And I think it's important to talk about them, because sometimes medications are needed. Sometimes you just need help because all the, you know, coping strategies that you've been taught, or sometimes it's hard for you to even do the coping strategies because you're such in a funk that you can't get out of it. And so sometimes it's important, like, to maybe lift your mood or get your emotions a little bit more stable so that you can actually do the coping strategy. Like if I tell you, well, if you're a little anxious, you feel wound up, how about you go exercise? Well, maybe you're not, like, you're so out of it that you can't, you know what I mean? Like, so that maybe wouldn't be a good coping strategy for me to tell you. And so there are medications that can help you, for those that they're appropriate for, can help you, you know, kind of level out the chemical imbalance that is going on. And once that occurs, then it can allow you to then do those coping strategies and then get in the habit of responding to things differently. I tell patients all the time, and I tell patients this when we talk about no guesswork and NGW, that, like, when we talk about medications for to help with weight loss, it's the same concept that sometimes we need medications to get us started and get us in a rhythm so that you can have those coping strategies. So when I give you those tools, you can practice using those tools and you're actually in a better headspace that you can actually practice those tools. And then once you get a rhythm and you develop a habit, then you can take the medications away. Or if the medications are working so well, you can stay on the medications because it's nothing wrong with taking a medication to help you get healthier, whether it's your mental health or whether it's your physical health in the case of obesity. It's really important to take care of your health, because then people don't realize it, or maybe they do realize it, but then they self-medicate. They use drugs and alcohol. They lash out at their loved ones. And we're in such a trying time that, like, I don't know why everybody's head is not going like bursting like a tomato or something, because there's so many things that are going on that's uncharted, that we've never dealt with before. And so and that as physicians, we talk as physicians that we've never dealt with before. Like, how do you tell a patient what to do in these trying times? I mean, to be honest, sometimes I tell them to turn the TV off. Turn off the news because it's stressing you out. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie. When I get up in the morning, I keep my news down a little bit but at the end of the day, when I get up in the morning, before I walk out that door, I turn on the news. I want to make sure the world didn't blow up before I try to go out to work. I got to check, and then but you have to be mindful of how you consume content. And content consumption is important. This world, in the world in which we live right now, everybody is worried about your content consumption. What are you consuming? And that is what all these algorithms are about. Everything is about your consumption. And so you need to, and you think you're in control of your consumption, but a lot of times we're not. We go down these rabbit holes and we think we're in control of our consumption, but we're really not. And so you need to monitor your consumption and what you're consuming and make sure you don't go down too many rabbit holes. You might turn on the news real quick and check it. A Princeton professor I was talking to today, or who I saw in the office, his recommendation, or what works for him, is that he'll look on his phone at the news. So that way he doesn't have to get shocked with the headline goes, breaking news, such and such happened. Like, he can consume it on his phone and he can stop it when he wants to. They're not going to leave you with a teaser and say, after this commercial break, we're going to talk about why the world's about to end. Like, so you can consume it and have better control of it. And so I really do think that you need to monitor your consumption, even if it's, laughy, fun things, because sometimes that leads you down a rabbit hole that's going to make a left turn and lead you somewhere else. And so, and that kind of stuff is important too, because again, what you bring into your vessel, to your body, is important. Again, whether it's food or whether it's what you're bringing into your mind is important. And I really do think that you need to pay attention to that and be more mindful of those things, because that has a lot to do with anxiety and depression. Personally, I've seen people that I care about go through some things because of the way that they consume information, and it makes it tough for them. And so I really encourage you to make sure that you monitor your consumption of information. You monitor your emotions. You pay attention if you're feeling nervous or anxious, and then if you are, is it affecting the quality of your life? Are you doing something to address it? Do you have good coping strategies for it? Not, eating, because a lot of times we eat. And it makes it tough. And this is going back to no guesswork. A lot of my patients have a tough time because they're home, the food is right over there, and they're stressed. And so they just eat. Or you're drinking, or you're, whatever kind of drug. And so you need to be mindful of your emotion and need to understand if it is affecting the quality of your life. And if it is, go seek out help. I told you about the SIGE caps, SIGECAP, and S is sleep, I is interest, G is guilt. Do you have any guilt? E is do you have energy, concentration, appetite. How's your appetite? How is your motor? Like, are you moving with a pep in your step? And S is do you have thoughts of, hurting yourself or someone else? And so all these things are very important. I think that, and then also remember, you have friends and family for a reason, for support. They are there to support you. Use them. Use them. Talk to them. Be honest with them. Honesty will take you a long way. My friends call me Honest Abe, and to a fault sometimes, but I think, it's important. And be honest with your friends, because you never know how that honesty might help you, because you have friends and family for a reason. And so you need to use them. And so I'm going to end now, and, we'll talk a little bit more about these things, because I think it's such an important topic, especially, the holidays are coming soon. We're going to talk about holidays, by the way. We're going to have a whole thing on holidays and food and what to watch out for and just a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm going to end here. But I do want you guys to make sure you visit the No Guesswork page, and also join a No Guesswork group. It's a private group. Nobody knows you're in it except for if you're one of the people who are in the group. And they're like today, they were just putting up different foods that are low carb, that are very tasty, and so you get these ideas from people. And also, if you read the book, I have a lot of those things in the book as well, the No Guesswork Diet book. And also make sure you let people know about these lives that we do every Monday at 7 p.m. and about the book, of course, the No Guesswork Diet, and about all the social media that I'm on. So I just want to wish you guys a great Monday night. I hope your week is wonderful. And thank you guys for joining. And I will see you in a minute. I just want to, before I go, I do want to answer this one question. Someone said, I don't see the NGW app. So I wrote in a book that I have an app, because I do. But unfortunately, there were some issues with the developers on the app, and so I had to pull it from the stores and and so it will be back soon. Just got to work out some things. But in the meantime, there are other apps out there that you can use, like Lose It or MyFitnessPal or Carb Count or whatever. But when my app comes out, you better ditch those other apps and come back to my app. Okay? All right, guys. It's always a pleasure. I look forward to these Monday nights, and I will see you next Monday. Take care. Bye. Dr. Hunt signing off.